Good morning. We are live on the Pirrone Prieur show. It's going to be a beautiful day. Supposed to be, 85 degrees and sunny?
Yeah. Short weather.
No, it's going to be a nice day, though.
Hey, we
need it.
We're building progress up to Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
so.
quick shout out to Barron Insurance, Lillian Cabinets, Indian Creek Zoo, Pirrone for Supervisor, Jacob Supply, and Mulch King for being our sponsors. Thank you so much. Thank you to the first responders, the healthcare workers, grocery workers, and still need blood at Red Cross. But
Exactly. Hey, and we've got a new sponsor too. We got Rich Kenny over at Forest View.
Oh, very nice.
So when he opens up, hey, Rich, we're gonna be bowling and eating and all that good stuff.
That's right. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
But no, we got Mike Fisher here.
Hi, Paul.
Good friend. We do lunch quite often. 734 usually.
734.
It's
Well,
his favorite,
we used
it's his
to.
favorite spot. Used to.
We used to.
Back when
We will
you
once
could
again.
go out to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we could. Why don't we have a parking lot lunch? We just all get together and eat in a parking lot.
Well, we still have the stay-at-home order.
Well, we
gotta-
social distance our cars. Hey, what's up, man?
But so tell us a little bit about yourself and
Well,
why you're on the show this morning. We got some cool news.
I'm not quite sure. You
We
called
got
me.
some cool news. Opening a business up in downtown Temperance. You just joined our Ivor Lindsay board.
Yep. Had a board meeting last night.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
We actually
Zoom it.
We go to meeting. Yep. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Nice. And
Yeah.
your daughter lives there.
She does. Yeah.
You run deep in this community. You know, you have a lot of family here.
Been here for 32 years.
Father-in-law owned Francis Family Foods. I mean,
Grandfather-in-law. Yep. Own Francis Foods.
I remember
Absolutely.
that. For those who don't,
did you just say grandfather-in-law?
Grandfather-in-law, because
Yeah.
Ray owned it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Owned
Mark
it. Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
that's Uncle
Paul's
Randy.
dad,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Paul's dad had it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they used to have. That bakery and stuff in there was unbelievable.
It was amazing. Yeah,
It
my wife
was.
worked in the deli and the bakery back in the day.
Very cool. You're going to play some music for us today?
Play a little
You're
bit of
great
music later
musician.
on.
I remember meeting you about 15 years ago at a men's conference. You played the song Amazing Grace. It was so good, man. I mean, really, he was like...
Well, by the time we get out of here, I'll have his name on a contract. I'll be getting 10%. We'll be cutting his first DVD.
And you used to be the
Yeah.
worship pastor at Bedford Lions,
I was
right?
a worship leader at Bedford Lions for several
Yeah.
years. Yeah,
Yeah, so,
absolutely.
I mean-
In fact, that's where we met, Paul. That's my recollection of meeting you. You came in, you're engaged, and you were looking for a place to get married.
Was that an
And we were doing,
first time or the
worship
second time?
practice on a Wednesday night. And so you guys came in because we had converted the gym into the sanctuary, and we were doing worship practice. And you guys kind of sat in the back and listened to worship practice a little bit, and were considering where you're getting married, and then you took off. Yeah,
I don't
so
remember
that's
that.
when I remember you.
I
Yeah, that's
don't
when I first
remember my
remember
wedding very
meeting.
much. Sorry, Steph.
Meaning
What, were you
the
celebrating before the
The Paul
engagement
Pirrone.
and the wedding, or what?
No, not one drop the whole day.
The whole day.
No, I didn't.
That's great. But anyway, thanks for having me on. I've been in Bedford for 32 years. My wife is Lynette. We've got 3 children, James, Juliana, and Jocelyn. They're grown. We have 2 grandchildren, Maggie
Well,
and
wait a
Meredith.
minute. Let's stop right there. You do not look old enough to have grandkids.
Well, that's why I'm getting this out of the way.
Did you get married like when you were 12 or something?
18.
18?
Really close.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
Yep. So I was 18 when I got married. Married 32 years. And then our youngest, Jocelyn. And I'm announcing we're actually expecting our 3rd grandchild. So, Juliana, if you're listening, I just told Bedford at least. I don't know about the world, but I told Bedford.
Our grandkids great, though.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, my God.
It's
You
can't explain it.
It really is. My brothers and friends tried to because I'm the youngest of 6. My brother and sister tried to prepare me for it. And really, nothing can prepare you for this, right? You're
No.
just a conduit of God's love for these children. Yeah, you can
Yep.
just hang out, just love them, and then Jules and Damien can go home and take care of them when we sugar them up. So
That's what they all say.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been here for 32 years. Jocelyn, our youngest daughter, Jocelyn. I think that's probably why you called me. We're actually years ago. Many of your listeners might know that Jocelyn was diagnosed with leukemia in 2007. She was 14 years old. She was in the choir. She was in the book club. Came home from school one day, wasn't feeling well. And anyway, I won't go into all the details of that because if I do, I'll probably get choked up. But over the years, we just really realized that her quality of life, she had a quality of life, but friends get married, friends move on, and I was really thinking and praying about, what can we do for her quality of life? How can we, Mom and Dad, come alongside her and really help her?
Right.
And at that point, we have a tradition. My wife and I, one of our first dates was the art museum. So for years, Lynette and I would go to the museum, and when the kids were little, we grew up. So all of our kids have a deep love for art. Jocelyn especially is extremely artistic. James is extremely artistic in clay. My other daughter, is a blogger. But at that point, we went to the museum, and we went to an exhibit. And at the exhibit, there was actually a glass fusion class that was being offered, inspired by that exhibit.
Right.
So we went. She went to this glass fusion class, and she came alive. We watched her quality of life go from here to here, making friends, being excited about what she was creating. We saw emotionally getting better psychologically. I started doing research. I already, as an artist and musician myself, already knew the value of arts for emotions psychologically and spiritually. But I started doing research, and I realized, wow, if I could really encourage her to do this all the time, it'd be fantastic. So what we did, we signed up for one class, and then another, and another. And my son and my wife and I became her cold workers. Because Jocelyn, for those of your listeners that don't know, is paralyzed on her left side. That was one of the issues from her leukemia. She came home paralyzed on her left side, so she's in a wheelchair.
Gosh.
So when you're doing glass work, this isn't glass blowing, this is glass fusion. She does all the artistic part and lays it out, and it's absolutely amazing and inspiring what she does.
So, Mike, was this over at that
doing,
glass
yep,
museum?
in the glass
there
pavilion,
that she was
yes.
doing that? Yeah,
Yep,
that's pretty
downstairs.
neat over there. I've been over there a lot.
And so we started doing her cold work. It's about 50% cold work. Diamond cutting, sanding, Dremel tool, doing all that. So I protect my Tuesday and Thursday nights in the museum with her, and we go and we do this. And then it got to the point where actually my father-in-law was over for dinner, Paul. And Lynette and I and Jossie and Paul were sitting around, and she was telling Grandpa and gave him a gift. The first gift she gave to Grandpa, and he loved it. I thought he was going to get choked up. You know, Paul, doesn't show a whole lot of emotion.
Yeah.
Got choked up, and he said, you know what, Jocelyn, you know what I love about this? It's the only piece like this in the world. Because she was pointing out all of its imperfections, right? All the things she didn't like about it. Artists are their own worst critics. And Grandpa said, Jossie, this is beautiful. And he actually cherishes it. He's got a great place up at the lake. And she said that night, she looked at us and she goes, if I could do that glass work every day, that would be awesome. And she was beaming. I hadn't seen that in her in a long time. So I started thinking and praying. And at that point, I had the vision to get maybe a little garage area, get her a kiln, get her own place. Because she started doing so well that the teachers started telling us where to price them, because if she priced them too low, then she'd screw up the market, right? And took
Talking
me
about
aside.
kiln, somebody's giving away a bunch of kiln stuff on Facebook. Too.
Oh, we need to talk after this.
I just saw it. There's a couple comments on it.
Oh, well, can we pause this program? And
Yeah, let's go to Lambertville garage sale
but,
site.
but at that point, let's do it, yeah. So at that point, started dreaming and thinking about it. Just going to get her a little place. Maybe even put it in my garage. So I started looking for a spot, and I'm thinking of Toledo, and I kept coming back to Bedford. I have a love for Temperance. I raised my kids there. Lynette and I lived there 15 years before we moved to Lambertville 16 years ago.
And Lynette worked at the Lions.
Lynette at Lions Den.
Long time.
She's still there,
Yeah,
isn't
she's
she?
the den to this day, right now.
What a sweet lady.
Yeah,
I mean, really,
you're telling me.
seriously.
Yeah, she's kept me around for 32 years. She must be a pretty sweet lady. There's something special about her. Yeah, absolutely. So at that point, I was driving around, and I was thinking of some buildings. I looked at a couple. I actually came into the township and pulled some records on some and talked to some real estate agents. And then I saw this sign, and I'm thinking, I don't want to have a huge overhead. But I started thinking, if Jossie, if we saw her quality of life improve, heck, I saw my quality of life improve. Going here on Tuesdays and Thursdays and doing something with my hands and not thinking about spreadsheets and customers and expectations and everything else, right? And I loved it. And I figured, well, if we're anything in America, we are a stressed out, depressed, anxiety people right now, right? So if that's the case, if Jocelyn benefited from it, I've done this research and saw so many people benefit from it. What would it be like for other people? Maybe we should offer this for others. So a vision and a dream was born a couple years ago. It's called Gathered Creations. And Gathered Creations, we're bringing to Temperance, 9037 Lewis Avenue.
Which building is that?
It's
Mike?
the old Walt Wilburn's Heating and Air Conditioning. That's the
Right-
one I
right by
remember.
Barron's
yes. Yeah, right by
Insurance.
Barron's Insurance. It's kind of a garage-looking building behind it, just north.
Oh, so you're going to be in the back.
Just north. I had both
that'll be-
buildings,
that'll be
and I
neat.
decided to rescind the front side. Another guy took it, and I took the back. So it's Gathered Creations. It's an art studio and gallery. We'll be doing art classes, everything from the glass fusion, which Jossie will be doing. We're working very closely with Copper Moon and Stacy out on Airport Highway, and they're helping set things up
I've
for this
been
as
in
well.
there. Oh, they got
So
some
if you
neat
know
stuff.
that stuff, that's
Yeah.
what's coming to Temperance.
Oh, that's
the
what
type
you're
of
going to be
yes,
doing.
yeah, that's one of the
That
product
is-
lines.
Have you been out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that place.
Great
Yeah.
Mother's Day gifts. and,
Oh, yeah.
lots of good stuff.
Absolutely. I started thinking about it, and I thought, Temperance makes sense. Now, being in business for years, if I were to come in and write a business plan and say, hey, I'm going to open a art gallery and gift shop in Temperance, some people might look at me and just kind of look at me sideways. But I kept our overhead low, and I believe in Temperance. I believe we have a fantastic zip code. I think we have fantastic businesses. And I want to lend to that. I have a vision to see downtown Temperance, like I've told you at lunch. I'd like to see it. more of an art community. We might not have the quaintness of a Chelsea or a Tecumseh, that type of thing.
Sometimes
But
it
we've got a
doesn't
great
really
area.
matter where you go, though. It just matters what you do.
I
And the
think
product
so.
you put out.
Well,
People will come once they figure
Well,
out
I think you're right.
where you're at and what you're doing, and they love you.
Well,
they'll come.
look at Barb's shop.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
started down there.
she's
Barb
fantastic.
Cassidy. You know, and I had some people that said, "Oh, she's never going to make it down there," and I was like, "Well, how do you know if you don't try?" And that place has blossomed, so it's kind of neat because she's going to be doing classes.
Absolutely.
And then now we've got Mike and his daughter doing stuff. I agree with you. I'm one of those kind of people. You know, like I said before, I had to pay people to do my art projects, my wood shop projects. I can't sing, love music, love rock and roll. So I always admire people that are artistic because it's like my wife is. She can draw anything, does oil paintings,
Oh, that's
watercolor.
awesome. You have to
You
bring
know
her
what I mean?
over.
Yeah, and I just like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? So and
You know,
then
that's fantastic, Al. You know, it's great. I'm glad you brought up Barb because one of the things my wife and I have talked about quite a bit, she's gotten to know Barb, is that we really want to bless her. You know, we want to bless her, want to bless the den, want to bless Temperance. And when you look at that, you look at Vintage Finds, you look at the den, you look at the other places that are opening up, there's always scale. Right? Where there's a Burger King, there's a McDonald's, you know? And when you go into a quaint town, when you go into a town to do some shopping or to hang out or have coffee or whatever, you have a multiple choices to go hang out and check in. So usually more businesses of the same type actually attract more. And that's the goal. And that's
we got
my
a
heart
couple
for it.
restaurants.
Well, and when
down
your
there.
goal,
Absolutely.
when your goal is to bless other people, you're going to be blessed for one, and you'll probably be successful.
We
because of
believe
that
so.
attitude. You know
Yeah,
what
we
I mean?
believe so. Yeah.
Well, we're excited for you. We're
Thank
excited
you.
about the business. And,
Thank you.
That's really cool.
when do you plan on opening up? Do you think?
Well, that will depend on the rollout plan. Now I'm in the same predicament. Really hoping. I really think it's going to be a blessing in disguise. I think it will lend well to our current situation. And speaking of the blessing, be a blessing for all of us. By nature, we'll be doing classes not only in glass but in drawing, in acrylics, in oil, in water. We're going to have some clay over there, so we'll be working at that. We have Phil Kinnesecker that many of you know. Many of you might know him from his fireman days. Many of you might know from his activities on different boards here in town in the fire department board. However, he's an amazingly accomplished artist. He studied under Larry Golba. He teaches
the
himself.
teacher over at Bedford.
Yep, Larry Golba. He's a great teacher.
funny
He's got
story.
a great heart.
Funny story. Larry Gold will probably laugh if he's watching.
Why? What?
Well, when I was in junior high, I was a little crazy in junior high. I jumped down a flight of stairs, and just when I was in mid-flight, his wife, the teacher at the school, opened the door, and I landed on her and broke my leg. And Larry Odell, the guy I beat in the last election, suspended me.
Are you kidding me? That's why you ran. That's why
I
you
just
ran.
wanted to
I
beat
always
him.
wondered why you
I
quit
got
your
back
job
at
and became
him.
the township supervisor. That's it.
There you go.
Bedford,
You were motivated. I'll get
Bedford in
back at
America. Paul Pirrone had an ulterior motive.
Oh my God.
True story. That's a great story. I should call Larry and talk to him about that.
yeah,
that's awesome.
great.
Oh, he'll remember it.
That's great. I
Well,
don't
you
how
know
we can
that's
forget.
what I see too, Paul. Like with the Temperance Street Fest, I've envisioned
Mike was there rocking it, man.
right,
Oh, loved it.
that we have more artists there, so that it's just because I was really disappointed, but I mean we all get with the viruses and so on, but I've been going to the Ann Arbor Art Festival for years since I probably started in high school or whatever when they first got going. And it's amazing when you go there and you see people from all over the country in unique creations. And we have a lot of unique people and creative artists right
Did
here
you see
in
Brian
Bedford.
Rood last show? I mean, Brian Rood, the guy who
No,
does
I
all
didn't
the
see
drawings
it.
for
I-
Disney
no,
and
you told me
Marvel
about it.
and
I've got to
yeah.
get with him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He lives right down the road.
You
so.
guys are leaning into a great point that we can't forget. That this is not just the art that's going to be there is not just going to be what's created there.
Right.
So we have artists. We have Ken Weaver, actually, who's a local craftsman. Velda is actually a volunteer at the den.
I mean,
They're
Ken Weaver
wonderful
down
company.
on lives off Seco Road.
Absolutely.
That Ken Weaver,
Yeah,
the
Ken Weaver.
financial guy.
Ken
No
Weaver.
kidding. Hey,
Okay?
Ken.
Hey, Ken, I'm outing you. Ken
okay.
is an amazing artist himself. He wouldn't say he's an artist. He'll downplay it.
I would've never
I walked
thought
through his
that.
art studio, and he's like, he thinks of himself more of a crafter.
You got Nate Ellerton, too, that does wood
Nate
carving.
Ellerton.
Yeah.
I'd
I mean,
like
there's
to
a
get a
lot
hold of Nate
artists
and those
like that.
guys.
Yeah.
But we've between Phil, between Ken, we've got to get him. Greg Justice is going to be doing some classes. He's an artist in Sylvania and does some amazing things with ProMedica and some different for epilepsy patients and things like that. So it's going to be where we are actually looking. So I'm going to put here on the radio, if you're an artist, if you're an area, if you know anybody that's artistic, if you know anybody that has a bent, if you know anybody that's challenged, it's not going to just be a place for people that have challenges, but actually it is, because everybody has challenges. Some of us just hide it better, right? And so this is a place to gather, and Gather Creations has a double meaning for me. I looked through and I thought of the names, went through, and what I do artistically, if I'm writing a song or putting together a sales presentation, I spend time laboring over it. And I went through a lot of names, and then I wanted gathered. My wife and I love that word. That was a word that came to her a couple of years ago, and we've really been thinking about it. But I thought Gather Creations, and to me it has a double meaning. I believe that we are created in the image of God, and we're created as creative beings. And so all of us get together, and when we're working, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's a word called avoda in the Old Testament, and it's the same word. It's interchanged many times between work and worship. And I think the way I interpret that, and I'm not a theologian, I'm not a pastor, I don't know, but I believe that when we come in contact, when we realize that this is not all there is, right? And we're created in the image of creative God. And when we start creating, it can't help but do things for our heart, for our mind, for our emotions. And so I see it as we're all gathered creations under one roof, and the artists bring their creations and offer them to the world.
Cool.
Well,
exciting.
Let's be realistic. I think when you're an artist or you're a musician or whatever, I truly believe that is a gift from God, because
Absolutely.
when you see people that, for example, you take somebody like Stevie Wonder, who could never read music, and how do you become a musician? And you know what I mean? Or you go look at art. I'm like you. I've been to numerous art museums and stuff, and you look at those creations and you say, that's in you. You know what I mean? But we're all given different gifts.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm and I view art to Mike a little bit differently, because I'm also a history nut. And that was our first recorded history, when they used to do paintings of battle scenes,
Right,
and so on. That was history. We would have never known our forefathers, what they looked like, if we did not have artists in the world.
That's right.
Speaking of music, you're going to play some songs today?
Yeah, I'll sing you a song.
You gonna sing us a
sounds
song?
good, yeah.
What are you thinking about playing?
I-
I've been
you
watching
know,
on Facebook. You do
With
your
this
music.
conversation, I think I have a song that I wrote that was inspired by my granddaughter that I'd like to sing for you.
Oh, very cool.
It's called Because of You. And actually, let me tell you a story. Maggie was born 3 years ago. And at that point, you guys know my story a little bit, and I told you a little bit this morning about the family. When an onset disability hits somebody like that in the family, the divorce rate is huge. It's like in the 97th percentile, if not more. Jocelyn was in the hospital for 319 consecutive days. She came home paralyzed on a ventilator with nurses in her house 18 hours a day. And she didn't get weaned off that ventilator and paralyzed on her left side in a wheelchair. Didn't get off that ventilator for 5 years, right? So think of what our household was like. And at that point, the fulcrum goes to the weakest part of the family, right? Just like the white blood cells go to fight in our bodies. And at that point, Juliana and James, we love them, but the fulcrum goes to the one that's sickest, right?
Right.
And then when things were so rough, and I'm speaking to everybody here because I know that I'm not the only human being in life that has challenges. We all do, right? So I'm thinking about this, and if to say the word broken or disjointed would probably describe the Fisher household at that point. We were healing. We were coming out of that, and Jossie was starting to do our art. We were healing, and James was doing great, and Juliana, my wife, and I, and we were rocking through, and God was just restoring us. Restoration was the theme of our life. And then Maggie's born. There's still some splinters between Juliana, between James. Lent and I had some things to work out between Jossie. And all of a sudden, this new life is born. And I saw everybody come together. I saw healing start taking place because of this new life. We had something to celebrate. Maggie came in. So I started thinking about that. And then I started thinking about some of the people, and I don't want to get too deep on a fun morning.
No,
But I started thinking about all of the kids that we have buried in Bedford Township.
Oh, yeah.
Way before their time. Some of them were my children's friends. I think some of the guys that I've worked with. I have a friend of mine that struggled with depression. I had no idea. I worked with him for 13 years. And I got a phone call one day that he took his life. I started asking myself, what is going on here? And so I naturally looked at this new life and how this new life just brought delight to the family, right? And brought healing and life into a really kind of a barren place, right? And I started to ask myself, I made the jump, started saying, if I were to say something to someone who is considering that, what would I say, right? And I would tell them, that you're unique, that there's only one you. And so I wrote this song inspired by my granddaughter, but then also, what would you say? What would you say to anybody, not just somebody struggling with depression or anxiety? What would you say to anybody that's out there living on the wheels of life and trying to figure things out and might be struggling? And so this song came out, and it's also really, I think it's an ode to artists and creativity as well. So I'm
Well,
gonna sing this one.
and what you're saying too, Mike, is right now there's a lot of people struggling. That they're not seeing an end, but there is an end. We're going to get through this stuff some way, somehow. We just got to keep going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'd like to remind everybody, and you'll hear it in the song, in the chorus, is that honestly, think about it. All the world will never be the same because of you, just because you exist, right? Even if you think that the world is just dark and you have nothing going on, at some point in your life you were born, and there was even if you came into inopportune circumstances, someone loved you, someone delighted in you, and today you've got a God that delights in you, and I just want to let people know that. So
Very cool.
that's it. That's the tune. That was it. It was
Yeah,
really,
that's
it was really short.
I love those lyrics. They're wonderful.
Let's see if we can do this at
Okay.
7:30, 7:15 in the morning.
But we get the other. Mike's got to come back on the show again so he can play the rest of the song.
Am I to sing into this mic or just sing open?
Try and sing into the mic.
Okay, try to sing. Okay.
You're fine though.
All the world is forever changed because of you, 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 you. And all of us will never be the same because of you, 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 you. Please forgive the cliche, but there really only is one you. And you won't find your worth, what you can or cannot do. And oh, don't you know, someone delights in you right now, yeah. Someone who sees you, even when you can't see how. Oh, just look at you now. And all the world is forever changed because of you, 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 you. And all of us will never be the same because of you, 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 you. When you look at your life, tell me what is it you see? You might have to change your mind in order to be free. And oh, don't you know, someone delights in you right now, yeah. Someone who sees you, even when you can't see how. Oh, just look at you now. And all the world is forever changed because of you, 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 you. And all of us will never be the same because of you, 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 you. And all the world is forever changed because of you, yeah. And all of us will never be the same because of you, yeah. forever changed because of you, 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 and all of us will never be the same because of you, 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 you.
Very nice.
That's really good, Mike.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're gonna get you on The Voice. You need to be on that show, The Voice.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Hey, the other cool thing, just real quick, is you need to talk to Amanda over at Barron's Insurance. The reason being, because I just had this idea. They've got that one building sitting there up front.
Yeah.
What a great place to just display and kind of light it up at night. So when people are walking by or driving by,
That's a great idea.
They're not using it for anything. That would just be better than looking at the empty building, because I mean they have some bigger plans down the road.
Yeah.
But that would be a great place to just
That's a
kind of
great
like
idea.
a showcase.
I insure with them too, so I'll give her.
Oh
a
my
call.
gosh,
I
yeah,
didn't know
call
that.
them in
I
and
didn't know
just
they
sit-
end up empty place.
Oh, that'd be
Excellent.
perfect. Because I can tell you this, like at Barb's place, when I'm walking my dog, me and my wife or whatever, or riding the bike, we always stop and peek in her windows. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what has she got in now, you know? And
Yeah.
so that would be great.
Yeah, because we're a little back off the road. One of the things we actually did is actually double the size of the window and put a new one in so people could kind of see in the front. But you're right, getting close to the road would be
Oh,
great.
yeah, you could load
Thanks.
it up,
That's a great idea.
put it in the windows and stuff, and people peek in there.
All right, Amanda, you heard Al. I'll be calling.
Exactly. There
Hey,
we go.
Thanks for being on.
Oh,
We're
You're
excited
welcome.
about the business.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. We are too. We really are. And we'll let people know. Facebook page will go up this weekend, so please look it
Well,
up.
let us know,
Oh,
too. We'll
great.
throw a big
Yep.
grand opening, because that's
Yeah.
probably not something you're going to see too much of.
Right. That'd be
grand openings. And
fantastic.
I think once we do reopen, we're going to do one big grand opening.
Yeah, for all
the
of
whole
Bedford.
community.
We're going to
So-
open up this community and get some things going. And
Yeah.
I mean, I look forward to having you there. I'm sure my grandson, he was doing some of the glass blowing down at the art museum.
Oh,
so
that's
this
beautiful.
will be cool to come in and do
Yeah.
something different
Oh, it'd be
with
great.
glass. So.
Oh yeah, we talk. Should bring on Jossie later and let her explain to you exactly how.
Oh, yeah,
it
we'll
works.
have
It's
her on.
amazing. Yeah.
For
So.
sure.
So thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Paul. Thank you very much.
Great.
We're excited to be here, and we really think it's going to be something that'll really, I think, fill a void that we have right now.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
If anybody wants more information at this
Well, we
point,
need more things to do.
we do.
in Bedford.
We do.
You know what I mean? Date nights, things
Well,
like
date
that.
nights.
you
And
know,
think about
so-
this: whether it be you and your spouse, or the ladies' night out, or whether it be your business, whatever it might be, our class sizes are going to be 8 people or less. We'll have hand sanitizer, masks, a safe environment, limited hours. You know, Bay Creek Trudgers, I'll give them a plug.
Right.
Wonderful place up in Erie. They're open one weekend a month. We were inspired by that. You know, I have
great.
a full-time job. My wife works. You know, this is a labor of love for Jossie, but also going to be a blessing for the family. Our whole family's involved. You know, my daughter's going to be doing social media, and she's a blogger. My son's going to be doing cold work and clay and helping out. We'll all be doing our own thing. But we thought of limited hours, right? Because we all have other lives. So we're going to be open a couple evenings a week, like 4 to 8 in this gift store, that's the part we didn't talk about. It's a art gallery and a gift store. So if you're an
that'd be
artist
neat.
and you have something, please get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you and display your wares also. And not just art that's created here. Everything's American made, but we have artists from around the country and retail things. People can buy a gift card, right? People can come in and get a thank you note. People can get a birthday card, an anniversary card. People can get wind chimes, solar wind chimes.
Well, the
You
cool
know, so
thing is where you're located, you're walkable for probably
Absolutely.
about 8,000 people.
I think so.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know, people can walk there. So thanks for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
Well,
Yeah.
We'll
Thanks for
have
having
you
me.
on again sometime, I'm sure. But
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm not sure if we.
get our next big guest
Yeah.
here rolling on here, Jamie Paxton.
Jamie Paxton.
Thanks,
It's good
guys.
to see you, man.
Thanks, Mike. Come on down. Like the price. Exactly.
So, Al,
Yes, sir. Going on.
crazy times.
I know we got floods in Midland. My heart goes out to those
Oh my
folks.
gosh!
I mean, can you imagine
pray for those people.
we got a pandemic and then you get a flood and then overnight it's like tell 10,000 people you need to go move somewhere.
Yeah,
And keep social distancing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Which I think that's out of the water over there.
I know.
Literally.
Right.
We want to thank our sponsors: Barron Insurance, Lillian Cabinets, Indian Creek Zoo, Pirrone for Supervisor, Jacob Supply, Mulch King, and Forest View Lanes,
Exactly.
and Tutors and Beyond.
That's right.
So, Jamie Paxton,
Good morning.
good morning. It's good to have you on the show.
It's great to be on the show.
I've
with
known you
two.
for a couple years now,
Right. And my
couple
brother
years now.
longer.
and your brother-in-law I've known for a long, long time. But you've got some really cool things going over at Duke Farms and here at Tutors and Beyond. You have an office here now.
Yeah, I'm super
You're
excited about that.
partnering and gosh, the Duke Farm is really built up, and so is Little Blessings. I mean,
Yes.
you guys are doing amazing things. You're serving the community. You're just such a blessing to all the veterans and really the community because we go out there as well, you know. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. And
Okay. Well, thank you first for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm so grateful for Duke Farms for, I've been friends with Debbie since she started building that facility, and it's going on 4 years, and I can't believe what they've accomplished in
she
4
just
years.
moved out there.
She did.
bought
She
the house
moved next
next door.
door, and
Right,
it's so
she did.
great. Yes,
did.
it is so great. She's got a couple little ponies in her backyard. Sometimes it's great.
The neighbors got her to move those semi-trailers, and then she bought the house.
Yeah, it's so
You know,
much better
well,
though.
Paul, what was crazy? There was a little crazy story on that because that person moved. Okay, then this other couple, I guess they were from Toledo or whatever, moved in. Well, then the wife was like, "I just don't like living in the country." So they didn't even live in that house very long. And
No, they weren't
Sold
even
to
there.
another family
Yes.
then? Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were not even there 6 months.
Yeah,
the
they-
guy
no
loved
way.
it. Yes.
Yeah, they moved in like from, I don't know if they were in a subdivision or something. So they moved there, and I guess the wife was like, "I really don't like living out here."
Yeah, and then
You
they
know?
had an offer on their home, their original home, and she's like, "Oh, honey, I don't want to stay here." So he's like, "What?" And so they moved back home, and so it became available again. And Debbie's like, "Okay, this is a sign. Let's just do this."
Exactly.
And so yeah, they're all
exactly.
moved in.
I told her that a few times, like, why don't you just buy that house? Then you don't have to worry about a neighbor.
And so she did.
She did. That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm a 25-year Air Force veteran.
Thank you so much for your
service.
service.
Thank you very much. I want to give a shout out to my two daughters. My oldest daughter served 8 years in the Air Force, and my youngest daughter is a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, which I think is pretty big.
Oh, how cool is that?
I know. But she's on this stand down. Hasn't been in a helicopter since she completed school. Makes mom a little nervous when she gets back in the helicopter.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got her on some simulators or something. Huh?
No,
nothing. To practice?
No, she's only been out to the reserve unit once since this happened,
my
since
gosh.
December. I know. I'm like, but none of our units flying right now, so because of the pandemic. But I launched Little Blessings in 2018, and we serve the veteran community and their families. We provide equine assisted therapy. What that looks like is we have individual veterans that come out to our facility. We have a one-on-one therapy session with them, and we use horses to do that. Their program, the program that we've developed, came out of a program out of Texas, and it's almost a year-long program for these individuals. It's 5 phases, 10 weeks each phase. So it's pretty awesome. We also do, well, prior to this, we would do once a month family gatherings at the farm, so the veterans and their families could come out and just enjoy the space after hours. We know so many of the veterans isolate, so that's one of the reasons that we were doing that, so they could come out and have other things to do.
Well, Jamie, I mean, you served for like 25 years. Okay. 2 things. What prompted you to join the military? And then what prompted you to start this?
So my grandfather was a World War II Purple Heart veteran. And I didn't appreciate that when I was young because I didn't really know what it meant. But he and I would always watch MASH together. And it
Great
was
show.
one of my favorite shows ever
Right.
when I was little. And one of the things that I recognized as I was young was the work hard, play hard, and the camaraderie that they had on the show MASH. And I just loved that. And it was just a desire of mine to be part of something like that. And even though I didn't join the Army, I joined the Air Force. I just wanted to serve my country. And for 25 years, I faithfully served my country, and I put serving my country above my own family. I sacrificed my family. I sacrificed my children. I sacrificed my marriage, my husband. We have all of that, but it definitely had its damages along the way because of my commitment to the service.
Well, weren't you deployed and things of that nature too?
Yes, I've deployed all over the world. I've been stateside all over the place. I've been deployed to Turkey, Kuwait, Iraq. I've been
And that's
everywhere.
hard on a family because now, because all of a sudden you're there one day and then it's
So
like
they didn't
you're
tra-
shipped out, right?
So they didn't travel with you. And,
No, they never went on any of the trips with me. No.
and a little side note, Baron Insurance just messaged saying, give her a call Monday. They just sent it on.
Here's a pat on the back, Al, for good thinking on that one.
Well, Jamie, we are forever indebted. I mean, that's a huge sacrifice. I mean, that you can never get back, but your experiences, I'm sure you have some pretty cool experiences with what you've done. And,
Yeah, I have a lot of great experiences. I was able to travel the world and see some of the most beautiful places because of the military. I have some horrific memories that go along with some of the places that I've been with as well. The second part to your question as to why I wanted to do what I'm doing, I've always had a love for horses. I've had a horse for 20-some years. My daughter fell in love with him, and
I'm hoping that happens with Paul's daughter so he can experience those board bills.
we already had horses.
Shoe, yeah, but letting
For
him
2
run in the
years.
backyard isn't owning a horse. He didn't give him any shoes. He didn't do anything. It was like, oh yeah, tie him to a tree and we'll ride you later.
We couldn't keep them in the pen. I mean, they kept escaping.
There
My
is-
wife was pregnant. She's like, Paul, if these horses escape one more time, I'm going to kill you.
There is something though when daughters do get hooked on horses because we had a couple of them, but it's the best thing that
it
you
is.
can do.
Yeah, the horses themselves are a reflection of the emotion that you carry at the time, so that's why they work so good in the therapy session.
Just watching them out the back window. It
Oh,
was
they're-
so cool for me. I just stare at them.
They're
They're just so
fascinating.
cool.
Yeah, and being with them it's just absolutely
Yeah, I
incredible.
loved it.
Even to groom them or just to sit in a pasture and watch them. All of it's great. But I went through some transition since I got out of the military. When I was in the military, I was full throttle my entire career. Ahead of the game, always knew what I had to do next, high ranking, the whole gamut, right? Leader. And then when I got out, I really kind of lost my place. And the first 6 months, I struggled a lot, but I had no idea what was going on with me. I became extremely agitated. My anger, I'd never experienced anger like that in my life. Very short fuses. My mom had just moved in with me, and she was elderly and sick. Now I was going to be home with my husband full time, so there was a lot of transitioning
A lot
that
of
was
changes
happening.
there.
Correct. And it became exceptionally overwhelming to me. And so I did seek out therapy through the VA. Went there and I'm still in therapy once a month. Now we're doing via phone calls. And I tell people this, not for any other reason than to let other veterans know that it's okay to talk about mental health, right? It's okay that if medication works for you to help you, which I am on medication, that's great, right? Because it's helping me be successful in what I need to do. It's controlling my anger and controlling my emotions. Because I lost that purpose when I got out. I had zero purpose. And even though I was part of the farm, what an amazing place to transition to, right? But I had no purpose.
But you really had like two families because my understanding, it's kind of like if you're a firefighter or a police officer, that's kind of like your other family. It's different in the business world because we know, hey, we work there for X and we leave and we go to another company. But when you're in the military, it's part of your family like forever. Mm-hmm. So that's a
Yes.
big transition.
Yes, but it was really the mission that drove me. I absolutely loved tying my combat boots every single morning. I loved any chance that I could deploy. I was always first to raise my hand. And because in the Guard, you don't have to deploy. I mean, they do need numbers, but there's never a shortage of people going, send me, send me, send me.
Right.
Because we practice so much. It's like being a football player and then always being on the bench. So if you're practicing at the game, you want to go be in the game, right?
Right.
And so it was always mission first for me. And then I was at the Bedford Veterans Center. I started there, and I was watching these veterans come in. And I was just like, now is really the time for me to start this program. And because it had been in the back of my mind, but the timing just wasn't there.
Right.
And then I watched these veterans come through the door, and 99% of the veterans will describe the word as broken, as this gentleman said, that we're broken, right? And I know what horses can do, as we were just talking about that. And so I knew that was the timing to go out and launch this nonprofit. So
And the thing is with horses, I mean, there's two animals that I love, horses and dogs. And there's just something about their calming effects on people, but a horse is different. You look them in the eye, and it's weird because it's like they know you, and you.
it's to your soul.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. So
It's so funny. I got never owned a horse, didn't know anything about horses, and got 2 horses on my own with no training.
oh my.
I had no idea
Probably put the
what I
horn
was
on-
doing.
He probably put the saddle on backwards. What's this horse
I tell
doing
you what,
on the back?
we were riding them and everything. I mean, it was nuts. But we got them for the homeschooling, for the kids to take care of them, and then we wanted to start a little. And it was great, but it was, oh my gosh.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I remember one night our Heflinger broke out of the pen in our barn, and dude, I had a 20-gallon trash can. It was a trash can full of his food.
Oh,
and
yeah.
dude, he had it everywhere in the hay. I mean, it was just I had a lot of learning lessons with that.
Well, I'll tell you what. If like we've been down to Quarter Horse Congress, and some of those horses and how they're trained, it's incredible. But one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen is when we seen the Lipizaners out in Las Vegas, and those horses were trained for battle. And the movements and the things they do and how they protect during battle. I mean, they are trained to kick and maneuver and to ride with no hands, while in the day they're
Jousting,
yeah. It's truly fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, a little bit. Let's talk, Jamie, because there's a lot of PTSD. I mean, we've come off, being out and over in the Middle East several times, different wars and so on. And, we've had people do numerous deployments. And it is different because the World War II vets, they had a lot of PTSD, but nobody knew it. They came home, they did their job, or they became alcoholics or whatever. So we had a lot of time to study this. And it is devastating. Mm-hmm. It's something that doesn't – I don't know how you cure it. If you could talk about that a little bit, or, how that all –
Sure. So I always like to say PTSD is like a common word that they use for everything, right? And so I like to say personally that there's layers to it, right? So it's not just PTSD. So there is factually that transitioning, right? When you're trying to transition out of the military. Now, going back when you first joined the military, right? So you are transitioning from your civilian life into a military environment. And your life is forever changed, excuse me, from the minute you get off that bus and you meet that instructor, right? And for 6, 8 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever your branch of service is, they transform you into going from that individual into that team player, right? And that is very, very overwhelming when you endure that stuff, right? And so that's where the phasing begins, right? And the transitioning begins. Then you make it through basic training, and then you're on to your schooling. Then you go through your service. You go on deployments, right? Countless people have been on multi OIF, OEF deployments, Afghanistan, Iraq. Then you have
William Bruck. He's just leaving again.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Yes,
he's
he is.
left. And he's gonna be
got
there.
9 kids.
And he's gonna be there for like 9 months.
yeah, he's
crazy.
actually one of my board members. So
Be safe, Will.
yeah, I know it, right? And then you have sexual trauma. So it's layers, right? And so people come home with layers. So to just say it's PTSD just does not sum up truly what people have to go through in their transition.
Yeah, and I think
right?
that's what everybody hears. Just he's
They
got
do.
PTSD.
And
Well,
so,
well,
like,
what
I
is
like
it?
to inform people that there's other things that occur, right? So mine was really part of this transitioning, right? 25 years of this structured environment and then into this insanity world that I'm living in now, right? But with our program, we have licensed mental health, certified licensed mental health in our program. So the first phase of our program is all about getting on the horse. It's a veteran-to-veteran basis, so the veteran is there with another veteran on the end of that lead line, and there's no talking. It's a very nonverbal therapy, right? And so they learn to be in the moment, the rhythmic motion of the horse. It's pretty awesome. And then after they go through that for 10 weeks, then they move into the psychotherapy phase, which is where we bring in the licensed mental health. And so then you have the mental health, the equine specialist, and then the horses are, and it's all on the ground. So the horses are on the ground, and the client interacts with them, working through their emotions and what that looks like to them, right? So, like I said earlier, I see a therapist. I've been in an office, the 4x4 square, right? And they're always like, how are you doing? How are you doing? And then they try to give you a resolution for your problem, right? When in fact, this program, the way that it works, the client comes up with their own resolution, right? The client is the only one who holds the answer. You cannot change an alcoholic. The alcoholic has to change, right? And so it's no different. They have to want to change. They have to have the desire to do that. But the horses allow them to see it. So things unfold with the horses, and it could be their family members. It could be their coworkers trying to fit into a new place of employment. Those horses metaphorically transform into things, right? So not only are they experiencing the emotion, but they're physically seeing that in front of them. And that's what gives this methodology the strong ethics behind it and how it works so well, because they're able to see it twofold, right? Then you have that licensed therapists that are there, and they're not trying to fix you, right? They say, tell me what that was like, right? And if somebody said, well, I'm not really sure, it was really frustrating to me. In a normal therapy session, a therapist would go, okay, they'd nod their head and go, we all know what frustration looks like, right? But we don't. We don't know what frustration looks like to you or to me, right? Everybody has their own levels of frustration. So the therapist will dig a little bit deeper. Tell me what that looks like to you. And so then they start to unfold, right? And it is absolutely amazing. And then in our third phase, we have a very specific trauma base. It's called EMDR. It's an eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And that's done one-on-one, and they can do it at the farm with the horse present as well. And that's really getting at the trauma if the client hasn't moved through it in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 4, we community partner with, we are partners with Habitat for Humanity here in Monroe. We have
Dave Graves.
Yes.
I've known Dave for a long time.
Yes, and then we are Everdry from Toledo is one of our community partners. So in phase 4, what happens is the client has to work through. It's called pressure, working on pressure, right? Because now they've been through it, the mental health piece of it, right? Now they're ready to start working to go into that employment phase. 65% of veterans, from the time they get out and transition into their first job, lose their first job within the first 2 years, either quit or get fired, because they don't have the coping mechanisms to fit into that world, right? And so that phase 4 teaches them, they have all these other techniques, and then phase 4 teaches them the applied pressure, what it looks like when they put pressure on themselves, what it looks like when their coworkers put pressure on them, how to handle that. And so they're put in a round pen with a horse, and as you apply pressure to that horse, the horse either moves quicker, slows down, and so again, they're able to physically see it, not just have that emotion that they're feeling, right? And then midway, partners like Everdry will come on board, and if they want to go out and spend a week with Everdry, see if it's a place that they would fit into, then they would hire them.
The owner of Everdrive, I believe it's
Ken Rusk.
Ken Rusk. Okay, he just called my daughter to interview her. He wrote a book about. We need to get him on the show.
Oh, you finally got that message?
Yeah. And
It was sitting on our.
but he did call my daughter. And,
Good. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, exactly. But he's promoting the blue collar economy.
Yeah.
In terms of what he's doing. Yeah.
He's an amazing man. I'm going to go back to him in a second. Phase 5 then is a give back phase. They have to give us 5 hours at the farm at Little Blessings, either or, and then they partner up with Habitat, and they have to give Habitat because we want to submerge the veterans back in the community. We don't want to isolate them.
What can the public do to help you? What can we do to partner up with Little Blessings? Let the public know some opportunities. I know people are kind of itching to get involved with some things.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we would definitely look for are
Donations.
Donations is always. Donations is always.
I knew you were
nice.
going to say that.
No, you said it. I didn't say it. Is partnering up for work opportunities for veterans if they want work opportunities, or
And the public as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the public is. I mean, it's like the public if they needed therapy as well, like mental health. Is that something that you offer to the public as well, general public, or
we
just
are
veterans?
Just veterans right now, but we are working on another phase of that.
Okay.
And the Mercy House in Monroe too. We have also partnered with for our veterans to have a place to go volunteer. Right. This way we can have, because maybe Habitat isn't for everybody, so we want to be able to have more partners like that.
Very cool.
So just to community partner with us to here's what I like to tell people, because I've had people say, what can we do for you, right? And money's always the easiest. And my take on that isn't about the money. Yes, we need the money to go, right? But when somebody comes to me and says, what can I do? I want to know what your talent is, what your passion is, right? You tell me what you would like to do, right? Because if we can fulfill your passion of being able to volunteer, let's say you're great at gardening, right? We have an amazing gardening program kicking off, and you want to help garden or donate plants or whatever, then that's going to keep you around in the program. I don't want a one-time donor, right? I mean, we can, but I really like our program to grow as a community. We have grown huge in Bedford as a community, right, and the surrounding areas. So I like people to be involved and want to stay involved, right, because that helps our veterans acclimate into the civilian sector. The more civilians that they're around, the better the acclimation process is.
Are you doing anything with the children of veterans and stuff like that, working with them at all, or?
So our program does allow, right now we're tightening the budget a little bit just based on the way that it is, because it runs almost $5,000 per veteran to put through the programming. But we are going to start right before the pandemic, or the virus came out. We had a group for spouses or family members. Children we're going to do on a smaller scale, but I know specifically what it's done to my family, right? And so we want to be able to include the spouses specifically into this process, right? So we're starting a once-a-week group with spouses to where they can come out, and they, I think we were doing groups of 8, and where they can engage in that a couple-hour equine assisted therapy as well. So we will have the therapist there. They'll get to experience what, their significant others experiencing in our program, which will really help the communication a lot, right? And so, if we're going to do something smaller on a smaller scale for the kids, but we do we've done drop off your kids babysitting so you can have a night out. They can participate in the gardening process.
Oh, that's good.
So we'll have movie nights. So there's a lot that's going to be taking place.
That's good. It's funny you mentioned the Purple Heart that your grandfather got.
Mm-hmm.
My dad got a Purple Heart, too. He was in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
I got some of his stuff from back then and so on. And he got his Purple Heart because his friend accidentally shot him in the left arm. Oh. And my dad was like, I don't want this Purple Heart.
No.
And my dad would always show he had this scar where the bullet went into his arm. And he goes,
man.
he gets through the whole war,
right.
But yet his friend shot him. So. It's like, that was pretty crazy.
I do want to give a shout out to Home Depot. Home Depot just donated our garden box supplies, which I thought was really great. So
very cool.
Corporate got a hold of us and wanted to donate, so I thought that was great. So
well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
all
this
you
has been
do
great,
and
Jamie.
what you're doing in the community. I know you're definitely leaving your mark, and people are catching on to what you're doing and getting involved. But keep pushing forward, and we'll do what we can do to support and help you and be part of what you're doing. So
thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Get out to Duke Farms, too. It's fun out there.
Yeah, I do want to say I am launching my own podcast here, and it's going to be called Warrior Spotlight. And so hopefully Andy and I are figuring out the days for that, but it's going to be launching very, very soon.
Very cool.
So because we had a radio show that we were doing up in Monroe, but I haven't been able to go back up. Even though I was the only one of 2 people in the radio
right.
room.
Oh, I know. We got to do the social distancing thing.
And so we're super excited about that.
Very cool.
Hey, you know what? This is another thing, too. We're not going to call Andy anymore. I just watched Scooby-Doo with my grandson. He is Shaggy. I'm telling you. Yeah. You got a career in Hollywood. You need to audition next time for Shaggy.
He is Shaggy. Yep. Well, we appreciate you being on, and look forward to working with you in the future. So very cool. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So Al.
Yes, sir.
What's going on in the community?
Just a lot of stuff. I think people are getting anxious for Memorial Day weekend. I know there's probably, Yeah, we're still kind of locked up a little bit, but you can do campouts in the backyard, and still do some picnics. We'll see what the governor tells us. We just got to be patient. And I think that's the whole thing, is that we've come this far, and the thing that we need to remember, we got to start wearing our masks. I go to places, I see people wearing them, but then there's a lot of people that aren't wearing their mask, and just understand it. We do have people that are compromised, that they don't have anybody to go to the store for them or do an errand or whatever, so they have to venture out. So just kind of, if you need a mask, this Friday from 5 to 7, we're going to be handing out free masks over by the Liquor Cabinet Dollar Tree parking lot right there on Secor Road from 5 to 7. As long as you're a Bedford resident, we're going to give out free masks. I think we're going to be wearing them for a while. So we're just waiting.
Well, a lot of people are upset that we're putting that sector of Detroit. They're looking like
Right.
they're going to be last to be relieved from different things. We have written letters, called our state reps, called our senators and congressmen on the phone yesterday with two of them. And we're doing what we can do, to possibly
Right.
get out of that sector and get lumped in with a little different, because we're so far from Monroe,
Right.
and
We're more
yes,
tied in
we
with
do have
Lucas
people that
County.
commute to Detroit, but most of our people commute,
Right across the line.
right across the line, and and they're open. So
And and the governor, she holds the cards. When she issues executive orders and things of that nature, those are temporary laws that we're supposed to adhere to. And it's hard. And I get the frustration of business owners, because it is tough. You have money going out, like for your utilities, your rent, your vendors that you may have ordered food but you didn't get to sell it, and things of that nature. So it is very stressful for a business owner. And I pray for them. I know what they're going through, and we just got to support them the best way we can.
yeah, so continue supporting the local businesses.
Yes.
A lot of them are opening up, with takeout and carry out and all that good stuff. So continue to support them. Get outside today. It's going to be a beautiful day, but I think it was a good show. Thanks for having Mike and
Mike's
Jamie on. So it was,
both great. I can't wait for him to open up his studio, Paul, because I live down by downtown Temperance on North Park, and it's going to be so neat to keep seeing little different things pop up down in Temperance.
Yeah,
and we did those improvements.
which there's still some more to come. 'Cause
Exactly.
They're going to be painting those lines green.
Right,
So
and
look for
we're
that.
not done yet. We're going to be looking, once we get through all this, to see if maybe we can get a few facade grants somewhere, because there's a few buildings that, if they had a new front, like what they did at Churchill's building, it looks great.
Yeah, it
and so we're not done yet.
So thanks for the viewers. Next show, we're going to be doing some giveaways.
Yes.
So I believe John Bates and his team will be on next show. They're going to be doing a big job hiring for a tubing factory, I think. So
Oh, great.
hopefully he'll be coming on and talking about that. But thank you all for listening, and we will
Have a
see
great
you
weekend.
next Thursday. Have a great weekend. See you soon.